candle flame in a small alcove in the wall of a giant, vast underground cavern at the centre of the earth. The light from the flame illuminating the goddess, a tall, strong, powerful, naked woman. She had been crying. Her eyes were red. The tears had been rolling down her cheeks. She loved humanity, children of the earth. She'd nourished them and nurtured them throughout their evolution. They were so close to her heart, and they had chosen a path that she could no longer allow to continue. And this was the very last moment that she could possibly wait. She had given them all the time that she could. And with the heaviest of hearts, she walked over to the candle flame, leant forward and blew. A small orange ember glowed for a moment at the top of the wick, and smoke wafted up. On the surface of the earth, people were going around their everyday business, shopping, cleaning, working. When in an instant, all natural light vanished. All starlight, all moonlight, all sunlight. It was eerie, unimaginably eerie. People were shocked, confused, and it wasn't long before people got frightened, because there was no explanation or way of understanding this. And as time passed, it got colder and colder, and temperatures began to plummet. And people panicked. And society began to pull apart at the seams. And when foods ran short, people started to loot and steal. And all the politicians of the whole world came together. Suddenly their differences were immaterial, and they discussed and debated, and they had all the scientists come, and none of them could explain what had happened, and nobody knew what to do. And eventually, things began to die. The plants began to die. Animals began to die. Eventually, a man stood up amongst all those politicians, and he said, "There is someone who may be able to help us." Way down deep the core of the earth, in that vast cavern, stood the goddess in the darkness, her arms raised up to her surface. She was feeling every single feeling being felt by all of her creation, and holding it all. She saw, in the distance, a small light bobbing up and down, getting closer and closer, coming towards her. And then she could hear the sound of boots running on the stone floor. And it wasn't long before she could discern a head torch strapped to a hard hat, and a man's face covered in coal dust except where his tears had clean streams down over his cheeks. This man ran all the way up to her feet and collapsed in exhaustion. And when he finally regained his breath and he looked up, she saw a miner. He gazed. The goddess and said, Everything is dying. We don't know what to do. Please help us. And the goddess, looking into his eyes, felt his vulnerability, his human, open heart, and her compassion swelled in her. And she said, "Will you promise to do everything I ask?" And he said, "We will. We will." She said, "Do you promise to never build, make, create anything ever again that will not rot?" "I do. I promise." "Will you build a temple on the top of a hill on Clover Island? And in that temple I will place my living, beating heart. And it will be your responsibility to look after and protect and care for my heart. Do you understand this?" "I do," he said. "I promise. We will do it. We will find a way." And with that, she walked over to the candle with its cold black wick, and she leant forward and she blew. And a flame burst forth. And in that moment, the miner found himself standing on the top of a hill on Clover Island in the glorious sunshine.